Okay, so for this deep dive, you guys sent us a ton of stuff about stress. And, obviously everybody deals with that.
Yeah, it's kind of a universal experience, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Um, so we're going to specifically look at journaling as a way to kind of manage that stress.
All right, and specifically, we're going to be looking at Lestallion journals.
Yeah, so the stuff you guys sent us, we've got articles about how bad stress is for you, which I think we all kind of know.
Right. I think we've all felt that.
Yeah. And then we've got articles about how great journaling is for you.
Yeah, which again, it's one of those things. It's like, is that really going to help?
Yeah, is that really going to make a difference?
We're going to find out.
Yeah. And then we've got some stuff about these Lestallion journals and why they're so good.
Yeah, so hopefully by the end, we'll know, can journaling really help manage stress?
Yeah. And if so, is a Lestallion journal the way to go?
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we should start by talking about, why is stress such a problem? Like we said, everybody feels it.
Yeah, I mean, it impacts so many things in our lives, right? Yeah. It affects us physically, it affects us mentally, it affects us emotionally.
Yeah, you don't sleep as well.
You don't sleep as well. You might get headaches, your stomach might hurt.
Yeah, your relationships suffer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just not fun to be around.
Exactly. You're just not fun to be around. You're irritable, And so stress really does have a huge impact.
Yeah. So it's worth trying to do something about it.
Absolutely. And that's where journaling comes in.
Yeah. That's what we're going to look at. So how does that work?
Right. So, we've got all these thoughts swirling around in our heads, and it can just feel like chaos sometimes.
Yeah.
And that chaos leads to stress and anxiety.
Yeah. You just feel overwhelmed.
Exactly. So what journaling does is it kind of gives you a way to get all that stuff out of your head.
So you're not carrying it around with you all the time.
Exactly.
Right.
You can literally see your thoughts on paper.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So it's like a physical manifestation of what's happening up here.
Right. And that in itself can be really helpful because when you can see something, you can start to understand it better.
Yeah, you can start to organize it.
Exactly.
So it's not just like random thoughts. It's like, okay, there's a pattern here.
Right. And, some of the articles you sent talked about this idea of expressive writing.
Yeah.
And that's really about, not just writing down what happened to you today, but also how you felt about it.
Oh, so your emotional response to things.
Exactly, because that's a huge part of stress, right?
Yeah, it is.
So, expressive writing is all about like identifying those triggers. What are the things that are setting you off?
Yeah, and then how do you typically respond?
Right, because once you start to see those patterns,
you can maybe do something different.
Exactly. You can start to change your behavior. You can start to manage your reactions better.
Yeah, so you're not just a slave to your stress response.
Exactly.
Which I think is the goal, ultimately, right?
Absolutely. The goal is to feel like we're in control.
Yeah.
Not that stress is controlling us.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about how journaling can help, but now let's look at these Lestallion journals.
Right, because, as you said earlier, there's a difference between just writing in any old notebook and using a journal that's specifically designed for this purpose.
Right.
And Lestallion seems to have really thought about this.
Yeah, so let's start with the basics, like the paper they use. It's this wood-free, ivory-colored paper.
Right, and it's 120 GSM, which is actually pretty heavy for a notebook.
Yeah, so what's the big deal about the paper?
Well, it might seem like a small thing, but it really does make a difference in the writing experience.
Oh, okay.
Because if the paper is too thin, the ink bleeds through.
Yeah.
Or if it's too rough, it's not pleasant to write on.
Yeah, it can be scratchy.
Right, and that can not only make you more stressed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're trying to relax and de-stress, and then you're fighting with your pen and paper.
It's counterproductive.
Exactly. So Lestallion, using this high-quality paper, it just makes the whole experience more enjoyable. It's smooth, it's luxurious, it feels good to write on.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just about what you write, it's about the actual physical act of writing.
Exactly.
Okay, so what else? They got numbered pages and a table of contents, which seems very organized.
Right. Well, and that's really helpful for going back and reviewing your entries.
Oh, okay.
Because, you might be journaling for months or even years.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard to keep track of everything.
Yeah, so you're not just flipping through pages endlessly.
Exactly. So with the numbered pages, you can easily refer back to specific entries.
Yeah. And with the table of contents, you can organize your thoughts by topic.
Right. So if you're, dealing with a particular stressor, like work, for example, you can have a whole section in your journal dedicated to that.
Oh, I see. So you can see how you've dealt with work stress over time.
Exactly. And that can be really insightful. You can see what's worked, what hasn't worked.
Yeah. Okay, so they also have a lot of pages. These journals are like 211 pages.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. So why is that important?
Well, I think it gives you a sense of freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about running out of space.
Oh, okay.
So you can really let your thoughts flow.
Yeah.
You can write as much or as little as you need to without feeling restricted.
Yeah. And it also kind of reinforces the idea that this is a long-term commitment.
Right. It's not just a quick fix, it's a journey.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the physical journal itself. It's got a soft faux leather cover and a sturdy binding.
Yeah, it's really well made.
Yeah. So how does that contribute to stress management?
Well, it's about creating a sense of comfort and security.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, when you're stressed, you want to feel safe and grounded.
Yeah.
And having a journal that feels good in your hands, that feels solid and substantial.
It can be calming.
Exactly. It's like a little haven.
Yeah. Okay. And then they've got these 7.5 millimeter wide line pages.
Right.
So what's the thinking behind that?
Well, wider lines give you more space to write,
Yeah.
which can be really helpful when you're feeling stressed because your thoughts might be all over the place
Yeah.
and you don't want to feel cramped.
Right. You want to feel like you have room to breathe?
Exactly. So the wider lines just make the whole writing experience more relaxing.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, they've got this back pocket for storing stuff.
Yeah, which I love.
So what kind of stuff should you keep in there?
Well, motivational quotes are always good.
Yeah. Little pick-me-ups.
Exactly. Or mindfulness exercises, maybe a picture of a loved one.
Yeah. Anything that brings you joy.
Right. Because the whole point of this journal is to help you manage stress.
Yeah.
So you want to fill it with things that support that goal.
Yeah. That's really smart. Okay. So we've talked about the features of the journal itself,
Yeah.
but let's go back to the actual act of writing. How does that help us mentally and emotionally?
Right. So, as we said earlier, it's about getting those thoughts and feelings out of your head,
Yeah.
but it's also about processing them.
Processing them.
Yeah, when you write things down, you have to think about them more carefully.
You have to articulate them.
Exactly. And that can lead to some really important insights.
Insights.
Yeah, you might start to see patterns in your thinking.
Oh.
Or you might realize that some of your beliefs are actually not true.
Oh, wow. So it's like a form of self-discovery.
Exactly. And that can be really powerful because when you understand yourself better.
You can make better choices.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just about venting, it's about understanding.
Right.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier this idea of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
How does journaling promote that?
Well, emotional intelligence is all about being aware of your own emotions and the emotions of others.
Yeah.
And being able to manage those emotions effectively.
Right.
And journaling helps you do that because it forces you to pay attention to how you're feeling.
Yeah, you have to name it.
Exactly. You have to put a label on it. And when you do that, you start to develop a better understanding of your own emotional landscape.
Okay, so you're not just reacting, you're responding.
Right. And that's a huge part of stress management.
Yeah.
Because when you can control your emotions.
You can control the situation.
Exactly. You're not letting your emotions control you.
Yeah. Okay, so all of this sounds great in theory.
Yeah.
But how do we actually make it happen in our busy lives?
Right. Well, the key is to make journaling a habit.
A habit.
Yeah, like brushing your teeth or taking a shower.
So it's not a chore. It's just part of your routine.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Even just 5 or 10 minutes a day can make a big difference.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to write a novel every day.
No, just a few sentences even.
Yeah, okay. And what about those days when you're feeling stuck? You sit down with your journal and you're like, I don't know what to write.
Right. Well, that's where prompts can be really helpful.
Prompts.
Yeah, little questions or statements that get you thinking.
Oh, like, what was the best part of my day?
Exactly. Or what am I grateful for right now?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And Lestallion actually has a whole blog with journaling prompts.
Oh, well, that's handy.
Yeah. So you can always find something to write about.
Okay. And we talked about gratitude earlier.
Yeah.
Why is that so important for stress management?
Well, gratitude is all about focusing on the positive.
Yeah.
And when you're stressed, it's easy to get caught up in the negative.
Yeah, you forget about all the good stuff.
Exactly. So taking a few minutes each day to write down things you're grateful for.
It can really shift your perspective.
It can, and it can actually lower your stress levels.
Really?
Yeah, there's been research on this.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not just woo-woo, it's science.
It's science.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the specific challenges that journaling can help with.
Okay.
Like anxiety, for example.
Right. So anxiety is all about worry and fear.
Yeah.
And journaling can help you manage those feelings by giving you a safe space to express them.
Oh, okay.
You can write down all your worst fears without judgment.
Yeah.
And sometimes just getting it out on paper can make it feel less scary.
Yeah, I could see that.
And there are also specific prompts that you can use for anxiety.
Oh, like what?
Like, what's one thing I can control right now?
Okay.
Or describe a moment when you felt truly at peace.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because those prompts help you to shift your focus away from the things you can't control
Yeah.
and onto the things you can.
Yeah, okay, so what about chronic stress? You know, that kind of low-level stress that just never seems to go away.
Right. Well, journaling can help with that too, because it can help you to identify the sources of that stress.
Okay.
Maybe it's your job or your relationships or just the way you're thinking about things.
Yeah.
And once you know what's causing the stress, you can start to make changes.
Yeah, you can develop coping mechanisms.
Exactly. And journaling can help you to track those coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
You can see what's working and what's not.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the long-term benefits of journaling for stress management.
Right. So, we've talked about a lot of benefits already. But one of the biggest long-term benefits is that it helps you to develop self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, the ability to understand your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Right.
And that's so important for managing stress because it allows you to see your patterns.
Your patterns.
Yeah, like how you typically react to certain situations.
Oh.
And once you see those patterns, you can start to change them.
Yeah, so you're not just on autopilot.
Exactly.
Okay. And what about the impact of journaling on our overall mental health?
Right. Well, there's a ton of research showing that journaling can improve mood, reduce anxiety, and even help with symptoms of depression and PTSD.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really powerful stuff.
Okay, so it's not just about feeling less stressed. It's about feeling better overall.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's wrap things up by talking about some common stress triggers and how journaling can help.
Okay.
So work pressure is a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, and journaling can help with that by giving you a space to process your thoughts and feelings about work. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed by a project or you're having a conflict with a coworker.
Yeah.
Writing about it can help you to get some perspective.
Yeah, and maybe come up with some solutions.
Exactly. And it can also help you to set boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah, between work and your personal life.
Right.
Because it's easy to let work bleed into everything.
Yeah, okay. What about relationship conflicts? Those can be really stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. And journaling can help you to understand your own role in the conflict.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you're contributing to the problem in some way.
Yeah.
And it can also help you to communicate your needs more effectively.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because sometimes it's hard to articulate what you're feeling in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, but when you write it down, it's like you can really think it through.
Exactly.
Okay, what about financial concerns? Money is a huge stressor for a lot of people.
Yeah, and journaling can be really helpful for managing financial stress because it can help you to track your spending and to create a budget.
Yeah.
And it can also help you to set financial goals.
Goals.
Yeah, like saving for a down payment on a house or paying off debt.
Yeah.
And when you have those goals written down, it can make them feel more real and achievable.
Okay, so it's not just about worrying about money. It's about taking control.
Exactly.
Okay, and then there's health issues. Those can obviously be very stressful.
Yeah, and journaling can help you to cope with the emotional and mental challenges of dealing with a health issue.
Oh, okay.
You can write about your fears, your frustrations, your hopes.
Yeah.
And it can be really cathartic to just get it all out.
Yeah, and it can also help you to track your symptoms.
Right, and to communicate more effectively with your healthcare providers.
Okay, so it's not just for your emotional well-being. It can actually improve your physical health as well.
Exactly.
Okay, and finally, let's talk about uncertainty about the future. That's something that everyone experiences to some degree.
Yeah, and it can be really unsettling.
Yeah.
And journaling can help you to manage that uncertainty by focusing on the things you can control.
Oh, maybe you can't control what's going to happen in the world, but you can control how you respond to it.
Right.
And you can also control your own actions.
Yeah.
So journaling can help you to identify those areas of control.
Okay, so it's about empowering yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, so that was a lot of information.
It was.
But hopefully it's clear that journaling can be a really powerful tool for managing stress.
I think so.
And that a Lestallion journal, with all of its thoughtful features,
Can be a great way to start.
Yeah, so if you're feeling overwhelmed by stress, give journaling a try.
You might be surprised by how much it helps.
Yeah, you might just find that it changes your life.
Exactly.
So until next time, happy journaling.
And stay stress-free.
Or at least less stressed.
Yeah, it's a good goal.
Okay, bye everybody.
Well,